In 2008, three complete strangers were put together with the hopes of creating the greatest Sony podcast ever heard. Today, unable to stop podcasting, the show survives as connoisseurs of dick and fart jokes. If you need Sony news, are not deaf, and don't want to die of boredom, maybe you can listen to BigRedBarel Blu.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 18 or 188 of The Blue Show. I feel retarded given two sets of numbers. Dave told me to use the smaller numbers, but I don't want to.
Well, that's because you're used to counting things that are smaller.
Oh, I'm glad you jumped on that one because he'll pick on you now.
Well, Pac-Man likes the big ones anyway.
Big ones, small ones.
Throwing everybody
You know,
under the
I'm not
bus.
picky.
Anyway, we had a week off last week.
He's like, his penis is like Obamacare. Everybody gets it in Canada.
They don't get Obamacare.
No, well, you know what I mean, right?
No. Explain
all
it.
right. Never mind.
Yeah.
Let's just move on.
For a second there, I thought Frawlz was going to break down the healthcare issues in the United States of America. That would be good listening. I would listen to 45 minutes of that.
Not me.
No, not me.
Since we're in the throwing people under the bus mood, I'm glad that Frawlz committed to recording some audio to go out on the feed last week when we didn't show.
No problem. That's what I do. Commit to things and drop the ball. Actually, the reason why is because I ended up going to L.A. to a party. If anybody's following my Twitter, I was in a limousine with 7 other chicks in lingerie.
7 other chicks.
7 other chicks.
Well, 7 women in you know what I mean.
We know exactly what you mean. But
Yeah.
I do want to point out, as you use that excuse, that you said, I can't do it tonight, but I can do it tomorrow because I got to go shopping for this trip where I'm going out of town. So
Yes, and I was going to L.A. Then my phone broke.
your phone broke this week, though, after you were supposed to have done that.
Right.
And then Obamacare got held up, and that caused you to not be able to retroactively record it.
That happened, yes. And no, I'm out of excuses, so now I'm on to story time. So I just went to L.A., man. I don't know why it's on me. Why don't we ever ask Pac-Man to record anything to go out in the feed when we're not recording?
I don't know. He'd probably say no, and then I would be done. But at least with you, I've got a glimmer of hope that maybe one day you'll actually do what you say.
And I have done it in the past. It's not like I'm just like have no experience. It's like I had something to say, I just didn't say it and record it and give it to Dave, and then Dave would have been.
In my defense, I couldn't do it because the docs put me on new medication that made me act kind of crazy for about a week.
Define crazy.
Well, it wasn't even so crazy. It was like it was some of the medication you need to take before bed, and then you need to take another cocktail when you woke up. But for that 2 hours when the new medication kicked in and the medication from the night was still active, it left me kind of feeling. Actually, no, I was totally drunk without having imbibed any alcohol. So the first 4 or 5 hours of the day, or actually for the first week, it was almost all day. I was basically hammered. I was slurring my words. Was a little shaky on my feet. I couldn't really put together words together without slurring kind of sillily.
That would have been awesome. Most people don't know, but you don't drink, so that would have been our closest to hearing you drunk.
Yeah. I never drink alcohol, but the medication was so strong for the first week that I was basically like a crazy homeless person, only not homeless.
Yeah,
mumbling to myself, slurring my words. I'm like, you don't know what I mean?
You constructed a perfectly intelligent email about it, though.
Yeah, the email was perfect, actually. It's like, hey, guys, I apologize. I can't record tonight. I'm not feeling well. The new medications make me feel weird, and I started a new job, yada, yada, yada. It seems totally coherent to me.
Oh, what, the typing?
But I guess the spell check does that, though, right?
All right, let's get on with this show.
Hold on, I want to tell you guys one thing. I went to the fair the other day.
Thank you.
I want to run down and do you want me to? Oh, you know what? I can do it for bonus content if you want. It's a list of food that I ate at the fair yesterday or 2 days ago.
Wow, I have so much
I would buy an app for
disinterest in that topic.
Okay, well, that'll be bonus content then. Stay tuned. On how fat I was.
Well, before I forget, I picked up a Vita game, a new Vita game, Frawlz.
Did you?
Yes. I picked up Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, which I was waiting for you to flick me crap about because the first game was from, 2001? Something like that. But it's been revamped. I never played... I played and beat Metal Gear Solid 1 and 4. I never played 2 and 3, which is kind of weird. I got my PS2 way late in the life cycle. But I loved Metal Gear Solid 1, and I really loved Metal Gear Solid 4, so I wanted to go back and play 2 and 3. It's a great compilation. It sucks that it didn't come with Peace Walker like the PS3 version did, but it's really hard to go back to Metal Gear Solid 2 where you have no camera control. That's pretty frustrating. But in terms of the games running on the Vita, it seems to jump between about 30 frames a second up to 60 frames a second when you're inside, but it's totally smooth to play, and I've been having a blast. I got reminded very bluntly that it's a manual save game. So when you play a long time and put your Vita into sleep mode and play and put it in sleep mode and play and put it in sleep mode and then exit to play some other game, if you didn't manually save, you get to start over.
Oh, burn.
Wow, that must have been interesting.
So that was all sorts of fun.
All that toilet time put to waste.
Yeah. Anyway.
You only play it when you're on the pooper.
That happens quite a bit, yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's more like Metal Gear Runny, but it's mostly solid.
PlayStation Plus has changed my life. No, it hasn't.
How's Max Payne 3 treating you, Frawlz?
All right. That's what?
Did you finish Max Payne 3?
No, not yet. I was in LA, man. Come on. Don't knock me, dude.
Today is Thursday.
Oh, my God. You know I have a full-time job, right? So let's get onto the agenda.
You know we haven't talked to you in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe he's using "I have a full-time job" as some sort of reason for not playing video games, like the other thousands and thousands of people in the world with full-time jobs who play video games all the time.
Yeah. Hey, guess what, Frawlz? I have kids and a full-time job.
But that PlayStation Plus bundle was those free games was pretty sweet.
Yep.
It's just if you have a limited amount of bandwidth, it's going to take you a while to actually get around to downloading all of them.
Hey, Frawlz.
What?
Have you redeemed your PlayStation Plus code yet?
Of course I have. Why do you think I said it's changed my life?
Have you downloaded any of those games yet?
Not yet, no. I'm going to do that tonight. Some of them, anyway. I don't know, maybe Littlebigplanet too. Thinking about it.
See, that's what I got, because I never really got into Littlebigplanet 2, so I downloaded that. Been playing that. There's so much crazy user-generated levels now. I just sent the boys the YouTube video. Someone recreated at least the first, say, 40% of the Last of Us trailer in Littlebigplanet, and it's really well
cool.
done.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. And if you're the type of person who likes really difficult fighting games and or easy trophies, Virtua Fighter 5, I think, is
really?
One of the games that's free with PlayStation Plus, and you can get the first 9 of, I think, 10 trophies in about half an hour, an hour. The flip side is, to get the last trophies, I think you have to get a certain amount of wins or something, and unlike new fighting games, Virtua Fighter 5 is old school, with most of the special moves are combinations of a single button and different angles on the D-pad or the joystick, and it's quite difficult to get like high level combos and stuff going in that game, because we've all been gotten lazy playing Mortal Kombat. But that game's and it's I think one of the smaller downloads. I think it's like 2 gigs versus like Ratchet and Clank, which is 14.
Yeah, 14 gigs is a lot for a crappy platformer.
I'm not gonna go into the Mass Effect ending that just dropped this week, but a crappy ending with more padding is just a crappy ending with more padding.
Just like sex with you.
And then I really think that the new content that BioWare released, I don't even think it's really them trying to appease the fans. I think they're just trolling us really, really hard.
I think you just got trolled and you didn't even hear it.
What'd he say?
You can repeat it, Ravi.
No, I'm not repeating it. He can wait and hear it next week with everybody
he'll hear
else.
it on the podcast.
All right, let's get to this agenda, which is in no particular order, made up of topics from the last 2 weeks.
All right, we got a crap ton of...
I guess that ranges from right after E3 up to current, so...
That's nice.
Yeah, the week after E3 was pretty dead.
Frawlz, did you download firmware 4.20 for the PS3 yet?
I did.
You liar.
Didn't do anything.
Yes, it did.
No, it didn't.
It added a fix for the side tone issue for the wireless headset that you don't have.
Oh, well, yeah, I noticed that right away.
It did actually add more features for auto turning off the PS3, which is probably good for you. So
Yeah, I leave that on all the time.
Yep.
It's actually on right now, and it hasn't auto turned off yet.
Well, they've added settings for different modes. So, like if you're watching a movie, for example, it wouldn't necessarily honor the power off time. So, like if you have a DVD menu that loops and your movie finishes, say you fall asleep or whatever, you could wake up at 8 a.m. and your movie's been looping on the DVD menu all night. Well, you can tell it now after so many hours of inactivity and different sections of usage to power off, which I guess is good.
Hey.
I'm sure that's what you've been waiting for.
Yeah, he needs as many options in how to turn off his PlayStation 3 as possible.
No, I need less options and less crap like that. That stuff doesn't need to be announced as a change.
Hey, this is Sony updating the operating system to make things smoother for a user experience.
I told you today, Sony has a crappy reputation for peripheral and accessory support.
How does that work out?
It means it's just like they do these little tiny changes to, but they don't make any real games for stuff like this, It's like they don't really
let's back
pump
up.
out.
Wait a minute. Wait, stop. You're talking peripheral support and accessory support. Games doesn't work into this. They're adding features for peripherals and accessories.
No, I know that. But this is like they're going to do this and then they're just going to forget about it. That's basically it, what I'm trying to say. Like they'll do the initial things, they'll call it an update because they come up with a special product, and then they're just going to abandon it like they do everything else. So,
What do you mean abandon it? There's nothing to abandon. I don't understand what you're talking about. They're just fixing an issue with the headsets that people use.
like, when was the last time you heard anything about that 3D TV? The link you sent me today, it's $200 now at Best Buy.
How is that Sony not supporting their stuff?
I'm just saying that you don't see advertisements for it. They don't really put a lot of marketing behind it. It's like, hey, we came up with this awesome product, and then for 3 months they advertise the crap out of it, and then it just disappears, just like everything else. And then those 3 months, it comes a nice little.
So we're talking about advertisements.
Advertisements, yeah, things like that, pushing it, yeah, exactly. I feel like they just do something for Christmas and just leave it alone. I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to go off on a tangent. I'm just saying that
I don't
same thing with the Vita.
You're saying that they should have a permanent marketing push for years and years for a single product, because
not years and years, but more than just a couple months. I think they should have something that supports it.
Almost every new product gets a good push for, say, 6 months, 4 months, something like that, and then it stops being the main advertising point. No one keeps pushing stuff over and over and over again endlessly.
I bought that TV for $500 and now it's $200 and you're complaining.
Right. Well, I might go get it now. I'm just saying.
Great. When it works well, I can't wait to hear the complaints.
Sony could push some of their products with better marketing campaigns.
I think that's what I'm trying to say then. I mean, better...
Frawlz, you're not allowed to say what I'm trying to say. You need to just say it.
I can say... anyways, we should really get to the agenda.
Yeah, but this is more fun.
No, it's not.
Goddamn TV's too cheap.
I'm just trying to say that I feel like they do a medium amount of effort in the advertising and pushing of a product, and then it just falls off, which just feels like it didn't really get the enough attention that it should have.
They need to charge $50 more and make more commercials.
Anyway, okay. So welcome to the PlayStation Podcast. Let's do this.
You're crazy. Let's go ahead. So, did you guys know Sony has no plans to revamp the Resistance franchise anytime soon? They've got no games going at all?
That's not surprising.
That doesn't make any sense.
They were okay to good games, minus the last one, the portable. But it's interesting. I mean, Insomniac did the game. Sony owns the rights to the game. They can create, whatever stories they want in that universe. And since it's an alternate reality, they can do that indefinitely. But I was just a little surprised that, up until just recently, that was second party poster child franchise for the PS3, and now they're just kind of kicking it to the curb. I was just curious if you guys think that's a good move, whether you care or what.
Well, I mean, the latest handheld, the Resistance game on the PlayStation Vita, tanked. I mean, it's just, I don't know anyone who said anything good about it. And Resistance 3, which I really did enjoy, even though it was a very solid, above 80 or whatever, metric you want to use game, it still didn't bring in the numbers that I think Sony was hoping that it would bring in.
Should they have marketed it better?
You're a dick.
Well, I mean, they had a big push behind Resistance 3. They had web apps, they had mobile apps, they had...
the web app was actually very cool. That was popular in my house.
Yeah, I mean, they had a whole lot of extra social features advertising. They had a live-action trailer that went out, or they had 2 live-action trailers that went out. I mean, they pushed it really hard, and it sold enough to be profitable, but it was never... it never approached like Uncharted level success for the PlayStation 3. Well,
actually, I have a question, Frawlz, for you, because you have a different take on these kind of things. Do you think that Resistance suffered from coming off as Sony's attempt at Halo?
No. I thought Red Faction was.
Red Faction was what? You think Red Faction was a Halo ripoff?
Yeah, I thought Halo. Well, they came out around the same time. I thought that was Red Faction was going to be like their
Red
big,
Faction's multi-platform.
Like
what?
Well, I know.
Yeah, I don't see how Red Faction, an open world game based on destruction, has anything at all besides the fact that it's a shooter to Halo.
Sorry, did you pick the wrong game name?
Yeah, I did. Anyways, yes, I I did. Sorry, I meant Killzone.
What was the game that they did? They did try to market as the Halo killer. Yeah. Haze was the only game that outright tried to say that we were going after Halo, and Haze sucked.
Nectar.
Yeah, I mean, Haze is probably one of the most expensive AAA failures that PlayStation ever did. Because I'm pretty sure Haze, took a total bath. Like, I don't even think they made their money back.
I don't feel like Resistance really... was Resistance like a fail? I don't think it really was. I think that was a great, franchise they had going, and I think they're going to continue it.
I think it was a continual disappointment in some people's minds because it wasn't as amazing as they wanted it to be. I mean, it sucks to think that something good can be a letdown, but I think that's kind of what happened to Resistance as a franchise. The first one was kind of...
Yeah, I mean, it was a franchise that pulled, 1 million to 2 million sales, and I think they were hoping for, 3 to 6.
So while it was a success, it wasn't a landslide blowaway success.
Yeah.
And without Insomniac at the helm of a console version, I think it's wise to take a break, personally.
It's good to, if you keep pumping out games, people are going to start expecting. It's good to kind of like take a break and build the excitement back up again when you have an E3 and you just do a Resistance trailer. It's all like Metroid, what Nintendo does. They don't just do it every single year, a new Metroid.
But they don't do a Resistance every single year.
I'm saying like Resistance, I feel like Resistance 2 and Resistance 3 were pretty...
2.5 years apart?
Hella close together, but pretty close together. And then you had the Vita right after, just a couple months after Resistance 3. So
well, I mean, yeah, that wasn't the same group developing it, so it would be frequent for consumers, but not for the developers. I mean, they probably had a full development cycle.
Well, no, I mean, it's 2 to 2.5 years between the Resistance games, and then another year after Resistance 3 is when Resistance Fallen Skies came out. So that's still quite a bit of separation. I mean, Fallen Skies was just a shitty game.
I think the emphasis was too strong on the multiplayer for me, because I always played it for the single player. But anyway, we got more topics here, and I need to skip ahead because these are in jumbled order. Oh yay, Okami HD is coming exclusively to the PS3 with PlayStation Move support. After it's been out on the PS2 and the Wii, I guess the exclusivity refers to the HD part. It was a cool enough game when I played it many, many years ago.
Not piquing my interest.
Well, this will pique your interest because it'll piss you off. But Jason Rubin, the guy that took over at THQ, has now said Volition is gonna take Enter the Dominatrix, which was going to be a $30 DLC for Saints Row 3. Actually, I think it was standalone, but still $30.
Yeah, it's a whole other game.
And then they're going to turn it into basically probably Saints Row 4, a full price title. But I mean, Enter the Dominatrix, and this is the guy that said he was embarrassed that Volition would put out a title that would rely on such potty humor that limited its install base. Are we going to see a rated T Saints Row 4 instead of a rated M? I mean, I'm concerned. That's got to piss you off, Pac-Man, or at least make you nervous.
I no longer know what to think about what Jeff Rubin, because maybe even on the last show or the show before, we were talking about how he was saying
Jason.
Yeah, he was saying that it's too over the top, and then in a quote that he gave just recently, he's saying the new game is going to be all the over the top action and craziness that fans love. So either the over the topness is bad or the over the topness is good. But since he's basically backing both those ideas, I don't know what to believe. Is it going to be over the top, but not so over the top that it has to be an M-rated title again? I don't know. I mean, I definitely don't want to see Saints Row become Grand Theft Auto, to be a little more serious and have, really heavy emphasis on the story and, developing the characters. I want it to be batshit crazy.
I mean, do you really want it to be batshit? I mean, do you think there's room to tone it down to be a little bit more serious, but keep the humor in there?
They could make the writing and the single player campaign, better written and be a little more in depth and still be just as outrageous and gratuitous as the third one was. I mean, there's always room to tweak things.
Like a movie like Goodfellas or Ocean's 11. The reason why I like Ocean's 11 is because I really like the banter and the kind of immature behavior that they do. I mean, the Goodfellas is a pretty serious movie.
Maybe they called a meeting and he's like, the penetrator's got to go. And that's all he said.
And everybody's like, holy this got serious.
That was the only thing that pushed him from T to M. Anyway.
That's it.
Speaking of crazy, Kojima's in the news again. But this is for a good reason. We're not talking about his next game having social interaction and taboo topics and Zone of Enders HD remix. This is him saying, oh yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5 is a total thing that's happening and I'm not done with Solid Snake yet.
Nice!
So,
all right.
I think I am, but he set the bar high. I know, Frawlz, you did not play through Metal Gear Solid 4, but in my opinion, I mean, that's got to be a top 5 game for me. The bar is set so high, there's so much room to fall short of Metal Gear Solid 4. If he can top it, damn, bring it on. I mean, I'll wait years.
It's crazy. It's got to be something about money or pressure or whatever, because at one point he personally said that
he was done.
That we're done. That he's like, I wanted Snake to be dead and done at the end of 4.
Well, there's other stories with Snake too. It's not you kind of got tail end of his life. There's other missions that he's gone on, I'm sure. So why can't they just do it that way or do an alternate reboot?
Whole things they could do, yeah.
Well, he even mentioned in the interview that he alluded to Snake dying. Well, spoiler alert, at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, but he didn't necessarily die. So, I mean, it could be a direct continuation of the story arc or, flow into the next story arc. But either way, I'm excited. And
that would be awesome.
I still look back at what they were able to do with that game years ago on the PS3. I'm excited even if it comes out as a PS3. And, it's going to be a multi-platform title. But I'm excited for what they can do. It would really be exciting if they targeted the next-gen hardware as a launch title or launch window title. But anyway, now that I have excited myself.
Are you hard?
Solid.
It's like a solid snake.
Fumito Ueda, I don't even know if I ever pronounced this guy's name right. He stepped back into the limelight to confirm The Last Guardian is still indeed in production and it's business as usual.
And there's one guy on that project. His name's Phil.
Well, the thing is, the last game they did was Shadow of the Colossus on the PS2. I want to work at a company where you never have to produce anything and you still have a job. I don't understand that.
I think Kurt Schilling needs to take a note from these people. They actually put out a game and they went out of business. These guys don't even have to do anything. They just jot things down on a piece of paper and say we're still working on it. It's good. Just don't look over here. They probably all get other jobs.
Kurt Schilling being the guy behind Kingdoms of Amalur.
Yeah.
And Kingdoms of Amalur had the most ridiculous... Like, they're like, yeah, we can totally pull 3 million sales in order to be profitable. Really? Who in the told them that was a reasonable expectation?
He lost $50 million of his own dollars, from what I understand.
Plus all the money the taxpayers are going to be footing.
Yeah, no, there was a ton. It was like $45 million some state of Rhode Island gave him. It was insane.
No, there was a lot of money involved beyond... I thought the $50 million was his portion of what was lost.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was what, a $75 million investment, and that wasn't just for Kingdoms of Amalur. It was also for a Kingdoms of Amalur based, I think, MMO, which is equally f***ing retardedly stupid.
And the worst part is he couldn't even pay his employees. By the way, like towards the end, he couldn't give them money. Like they had worked, and he couldn't pay them.
Oh, they were pregnant employees that lost their health care. Other interesting news, Naughty Dog confirmed there will be a multiplayer component to The Last of Us. Not to be confused with The Last Guardian. But they did also confirm that it will not be a campaign co-op. So I'm guessing if you've played the Uncharted multiplayer, you probably have a pretty good idea of the basic framework, and it will be, The Last of Us type universe. So survival horror with those characters and those types of environments from the game, but probably very similar motifs to what's in Uncharted, which has been received
just like
well.
Gears.
Kind of like Gears. Yep. So, let's see. Frawlz, Sony has said again, I know you're holding out, they're in no way, shape, or form looking to drop the price of the Vita anytime soon.
All right, well, that's fine.
That means you won't be buying one soon.
No.
So,
well, what they need, and there's been, and we're going to get to it soon about some of the stuff that the Vita's got in the works. But the thing that's holding the Vita back isn't the quality of the system. We don't have any of the same complaints we had about the PSP as far as functionality. It's just they need a couple of the really big guaranteed money-making hits to come to the Vita.
Yep.
No more ports, no more cross-platform play, straight up Vita made for games.
Well, speaking of the Vita, Persona 4 The Golden came out in Japan last week, I think it was. And it is the first Vita game to top the Japanese sales charts. They sold 137,076 copies in the first week. Not only that, it boosted the Vita sales itself. They sold 34,459 Vitas that week. Now, I don't know if you remember, but it wasn't very many weeks ago. They were selling about 10,000 a week. So that's like a triple boost that game gave them.
And they still don't have Monster Hunters, right?
Nope, no Monster Hunter.
But Persona, it sells well in North America as well.
So, and I don't think that's even out here yet, right? It's got to be localized.
I think so. But the Persona games are very popular.
So let's see here. If you're a Vita owner holding out for a 32 gig card, which I think I've discussed, I don't know if it was on the show or not. I don't really want a 32 gig card because I'm not a big fan of swapping memory cards. And I'm sure they're going to announce larger ones down the road. So while I want the price to come down, I want them to also boost the capacity. So if I could get like a 64 gig card for a little less than what they're charging for the 32 gig card now, I'd go for that. But if 32 gigs enough, Amazon's got a sale right now. I don't know how long it's good for, but you can get it for about $81, which is about 20% off.
I still have my fingers crossed that someone in my life loves me enough to get me a PlayStation Vita for my birthday at the end of July.
Is it on your Amazon wish list?
Man, I got my PlayStation Vita. I got my wish list on the American Amazon store, the Canadian Amazon store, the UK Amazon store. I've also got wish lists going on Steam. I'm just sending all the people who I think will actually get me something for my birthday. I'm just sending them to a different wish list. But the Vita is the big thing that I want.
Now you're going to get 4 Vitas.
That would be sick.
You'd be set.
And you wouldn't have to feel bad that if you got me a Vita and I already got a Vita, because I'll probably still end up using both.
So surprisingly, well, this part's not surprising. YouTube came out this week for the Vita. Surprisingly, it's well done, I thought. It's missing a little functionality, but the slick factor was there, and I was not expecting that. I was expecting serviceable. But I was able to navigate and watch and rate and browse while I was watching, all with the Vita with ease, no training whatsoever. The interface just seemed intuitive. The only thing that I ran into that I couldn't do is, when a YouTube video ends and there's like that little matrix of 9 or 16 little thumbnails to go to other videos, it doesn't seem to honor your click. So my guess is they'll update that to work. But
come on, fat lesbians eating cake. Come on.
It's not.
Want to watch it?
How do you know they're lesbians just because they're eating cake?
It's the title of the video.
Because they're eating it out of each other's hoo-hoos.
Oh, okay, yeah, stop.
All right, we got some rumors. We have an intro.
Yeah, the rumors. We haven't been here for like 2 weeks. Yeah, rumors. The rumors.
It sounded like
what happened? Rothbart used to write the rumors for me at like last year. I stopped. This is all improvising.
Right.
I improvise now.
Where's my script?
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
All right, so Sony is apparently, or I should say rumored to be sending out the surveys again. And they're still asking people about PlayStation Plus changes. So this goes back to, we were expecting the big change at E3 to be, okay, now there's a new higher tier, gold tier PlayStation Plus or something like that, and we want you to pay more. They could still be working on that. It just didn't happen at E3, and they played it safe and smart by saying, here's the change, 12 games.
They're still getting a lot of love for that PlayStation Plus collection that they released.
Well, here is the latest rumor. They're asking questions about perks. So, would you be interested in an upcoming PlayStation Plus perk or edition where when you buy a PS3 or a PSV version of version of a game that's available on both platforms, you get the other platform for free? So,
hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? But that really screams to me this is going to cost more.
But I mean, if you had to put down a fixed investment on your subscription for the year, and that investment allowed you to get those kind of games for free on both systems, I mean, I could see that being worth it if you actually did. Like, if and when I actually get my Vita, I would totally be the type of person to take advantage of that.
I could too, but there's also the chance of maybe they only do that 4 times a year, and maybe 2 of those are sports games that I would never buy, and maybe one of them's a game I don't like, and all of a sudden I'm down to 1.
I would be more worried, and just we wasted the first half of the show talking about support. Sony and PlayStation has supported PlayStation Plus 1,000 times better than I think even the most optimistic of us thought they would.
I have to agree with that. They did push this
they've been consistent with really great games, good discounts, great sales, extras, nonstop. E3 came and they gave us 12 free games. I'm willing to give them faith that if they made that tier system in place and charged me an extra $10 or $15 or whatever it is, to allow us to get the Vita version of the game for free or vice versa. I could see them actually doing that for a lot of games, especially at E3 this year, a lot of the games they talked about had some sort of cross-play functionality or this, that, or the other thing.
This is where they're going to screw you, Pac-Man.
Yeah.
So you guys both think that sounds reasonable? I think it probably does. I don't know if it'll be 10 or 15, or maybe it'll be double. Who knows? I bet it costs.
I think it could also be just you pay less for the other game. Like, it could be $20, you pay $15.
Well, the next rumor on the list is Sony's reportedly hinted that Gran Turismo PSV may be in the works, but they're asking specific questions such as, if you knew you were getting one version of the game, would you be more likely to get the other version if you knew a discount was available? And I think specifically they're tailoring this question to, hey, everybody that's asking for Gran Turismo PSV, would you still get the PSV version if you knew there was a PS3 or home console version? And, a lot of people are just expecting that they'll come out with a portable version, not necessarily another console version anytime soon. But the way they're asking the question almost seems to be, would we be cannibalizing our sales if we came out with both versions somewhat close? That's kind of the way I read it. But I don't know.
Well, I know Gran Turismo is the kind of property where it will make money for whatever platform it's on because it just sells that well.
I remember your Boomerang reviews on it for the PSP.
Yeah, I mean, Gran Turismo is what, in the top 5 best-selling PSP games?
Probably.
If not even the top 3, last time I checked. But for me, I would love to be able to, even if I can't carry over my progress from my PlayStation 3 version of Gran Turismo over to the PSV, if I could transfer over my car collection.
Hey, babe, you want to see my car? It's in my pocket.
You go.
Alrighty, the next one is, according to a document reportedly detailing Microsoft's plans for the Xbox 720, this document was apparently supposed to be from 2010, Microsoft said they expected the next PlayStation console to double as a Google TV unit. Now, I know we've talked about that. You, Frawlz, especially, have predicted that in the past for some joint venture with PS3
absolutely.
and Google TV. So I'm guessing you're thinking this is still a probability, considering Sony's still cranking out brand new Google TV devices even this month.
I think it would help them immensely if Sony did that. I mean, they'll be able to I wouldn't say dominate the living room, but it would give added value to the living room. Because a lot of people have Android devices out there right now and don't really know much about Google TV. And there's people out there that don't want to buy an extra thing for it when they already have Hulu and they already have Netflix on their PlayStation 3. They don't want to buy another, attachment. They'd rather get it all in one box. So I think it would benefit both Google and Sony if they incorporated it together. Especially if they have to compete against Bing.
This document also detailed that the new Xbox is supposed to function as a DVR, always on recording. And we know, at least in Japan, the PS3 has functioned as a DVR. So I think if they're looking at competition that's going to function as a cable box / DVR, and they've got some experience themselves, and they've got internal experience with Google TV, to me, this sounds like a solid possibility. I mean, I would actually like it. So what do you think, PacMan? Do you think it sounds reasonable?
It does sound reasonable. I mean, obviously, this is all spinning off of a sort of dated memo or whatever. But that's definitely the future for both the systems. The next generation of consoles are going to be as much gaming platform as they are media hub in a real heavy way.
I think so too. All right, this next one is not much of a rumor, but it's still a rumor. Willem Dafoe is rumored to be starring in Quantic Dream's Beyond Two Souls. I'm going to say that's just wacky enough to be true. Except for maybe he'll be Academy Award nominee Willem Dafoe, or maybe he's won. I don't know. But
I think he has won. I know he's definitely been.
He was the Green Goblin. He won one for that, right, in the Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man. Okay, let's not talk about his least works. I mean, this is still the dude who's the cover of the art for the movie Platoon, which is one of the greatest Vietnam movies ever made.
That's true. No, he's got a good
and he's also, if you want to go talk a little newer, Boondock Saints. I mean, he is one of the best reasons to watch Boondock Saints, aside from the cool dual wielding silence. I don't know, handguns they were using in that movie. But Willem Dafoe is awesome, and he's weird and quirky enough that I could see him having a really fun time working in a video game, especially something as crazy as Quantic Dreams.
He's going to be the Scott Shelby of this game. You wait.
Okay, he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor twice. I don't think he ever won.
Yep, there you go.
So I don't think he's going to be
Academy Award nominee Willem Dafoe and I can't even talk now. Academy Award nominee Ellen Page.
Yeah, she's a lot cuter, and Willem Dafoe has got a really weird mouth.
Oh, you just got called out on Twitter by Torgo over at PlayStation Nation podcast, Frawlz.
Oh, really? He's done with his 18-hour podcast?
Yeah. He says you're. I tweeted Blue Show Fight, and he said Frawlz is probably saying, "Stop making fun of me. I played a game this year."
Yeah, joke's on him. I didn't.
Anyway, the last rumor, let's see, COD Blops Declassified, which is the Vita version, Call of Duty Black Ops, is rumored to include special ops missions as their story mode, which I'm assuming is like a bite-sized mission, as opposed to a traditional single-player ongoing campaign. It's also going to have multiplayer. So my question, other than do you think that is true, is if you think that's true, do you think Call of Duty fans are going to miss having a dedicated campaign, and will a collection of special ops missions be enough for the single player component? Or maybe I'm out of touch and Call of Duty players don't even care about single player at all anymore.
I do.
I do too. I mean, I don't play the multiplayer because I can't afford to invest the time to keep up.
Yeah, well, I think that there's obviously tons of people who still enjoy the single player campaigns from COD. I don't think they're the majority. I don't even think they're a significant minority. I'd say it's maybe 25% of the diehard COD fans. But the real money and the real addiction to Call of Duty, it is and always has been multiplayer. It sounds like they're releasing the Vita version as a straight up multiplayer affair with just enough content so that if you didn't want to play online, that there'd be something there for you. But the value is still in both. It is weird that they're not adding a full campaign. But if they put all their money behind having a really, really tight Vita multiplayer AAA shooter, that could be a real moneymaker.
I agree.
I mean, that's definitely a game that if they do it well, will sell Vitas. It just will.
I'm just saying, if they don't really have a true campaign, they better knock it out of the park with multiplayer.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You can't just have an average multiplayer and say, "Oh no, we did a lot with the campaign though," and people are like, "Oh yeah, you're right." Well, you don't have one to fall back on, so you better kick ass on this.
Well, you know it's going to be tied to Call of Duty Elite and all that other stuff. I mean, that's just a given. But to date, the best multiplayer shooter experience on the handhelds was SOCOM Fireteam Bravo series. And even though their interface for multiplayer wasn't flashy, it functioned well, it worked really well, and no one has released any sort of third-person, first-person shooter on any of the handhelds that comes close to how good multiplayer was done in an arguably pretty dated PSP series. So if they can at least match that, that would be awesome.
Damn, that's a show. We got to get to the shoutouts.
Damn. Okay. Wow.
I want to give a shout out to Tila Cooper.
Who?
That's going to cost some money. That was a sponsored shout out, actually. He doesn't know it yet.
I like how you had to give yourself a pronunciation on this.
Actually, one of our listeners asked for this shout out, and he had to pronounce it because maybe he thought I would call her Tiela Cooper or something like that. Anyway, I want to give a shout out to Neocalypse from the Twitters and Crazy Timbit.
Canadian. He's got to be Canadian, I think.
What's a Timbit?
They're like if you hold out they're just a little ball, like a little donut ball.
A donut hole.
And you put them in your mouth?
Donut hole.
A donut hole.
But Tim Hortons is the biggest donut coffee chain in Canada. Like, everyone goes there, and Timbits are one of their specialties.
Okay. Well, I want to give special thanks to Mike Man 1234 from the BRB community, Cyblorian from the Twitters, JB Mouse Blogs from the Twitters, and I gotta do this again. I'm trying to ODRKS. I think that's it. I think I did it right. Odie.
I think I did it.
ODRKS. He's been trying to get a shout out for me to even say it remotely correctly for 2 years. So I think I finally did it.
He's dead now.
I'm a tad bit stressed because I'm not going to find out till Friday. So
I'm going to give a shout out to my tiny, tiny bladder.
You gotta pee, old man. It probably just feels like you have to pee because you have an enlarged prostate.
Yep.
Okay. I'd like to give a shout out to Cromsman. Is that? I think that's actually how you pronounce it. Shout out to Dark Phoenix 9000, who is 1,000 times better than Dark Phoenix 8000.
But you know who's better is Dark Phoenix 9001 because he's over 9,000.
Oh, snap. I smell rivalry. Shout out to Sir Firo, again from the Twitters. Shout out to William Timothy, Whacked Alec, Raw Snake, and Iva Josh as well. Thanks for all the love. trying to play with as many people who have been hitting me up, through Steam or through PSN or through Xbox Live or whatever. People have asked me, like, is it okay if I just sort of jump into your party if you're playing something? I mean, it totally is. I mean, if I'm online playing, hit me up and we'll play games together.
You do not want to jump into a Frawlz party, though.
Yeah, you can jump into a Frawlz party. It's very difficult to jump out.
Just slap it around a little bit.
This weekend, I have absolutely no idea about the gamer nights. We recently just had another Gran Turismo gamer night, which was hosted by Jedi Junkie. There's more Gran Turismo gamer nights for that coming up as well, I believe. And I'm sort of waiting for something to come out for Max Payne, some sort of new DLC to sort of get people to come back to that game, because I would host gamer nights for that game, but no one's playing it online.
I didn't put it in the agenda, but they just announced DLC for Max Payne 3.
Sweet. Oh, see, so maybe when the DLC for Max Payne 3 comes out, we'll try another gamer night, because the first one, I mean, it's not even that we don't have enough people within the community playing Max Payne 3. I mean, I think people love that game, but there is no multiplayer community to really speak of, unless you're playing, on Friday night at between like 6 and 9 p.m. when the most people are playing. Other than that, it's pretty dead.
All right, we got to call this an episode so we can get a few minutes of what Frawlz ate this weekend. So we will see you guys next week. 4th of July is next week. It might be a little late.
Stay frosty, everybody.
I guess Frawlz in your mouth and other things.
You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarel.com for more podcast, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.